Hey, what's up guys? This is Oakley and we're be doing an interesting massive battles. This is going to be using the new mod that's in development, Ancient Empire. So this is going to be played in Total War Attila, but as you can see in front of you, you are noticing a lot of ancient Romans from around the Punic era. Take a look at some of these models up here. And so this is freaking awesome. These are the types of overhaul mods that I love. So this was brought to my attention by Total War Zone. He has his own YouTube channel where he does a lot of reviews of mods and does stuff like that. So great channel, check him out, I'll link him below. But yeah, he's going to be my opponent in this battle. He's going to be playing the forces of Carthage. Now I do have a separate video that goes over the mechanics of this mod. Total War Zone is going to be making a video where he covers the sort of overview of the mod. So if you want to learn more, go ahead and check those out. In this one, we're just going to be showing you how a battle is played, and you'll probably be seeing how the game plays out in terms of the mechanics as well. But the setup for this, as I said, is going to be Rome against Carthage. At the moment, those are the only two armies that were available for us. Again, this is kind of like a closed beta that we're working on. I'll show you my deployment here. So let's put this on K, so we get the nice cinematic. So on my right flank is going to be the Allied Latin infantry units that I deployed here. So 3 of the units in the front are going to be the Cohos Sorciorum, and something you'll notice with this mod is units are much larger in size. So let's actually watch as these legions start to deploy. So these would have been your Latin allies. So the main traditional native sort of Roman armies, the legion is over there in the distance, and then the allies are on the flanks. I have deployed them in 2 long lines with their own sort of cohorts extraordinary, 300 men apiece. Those are going to be sort of the allied infantry equivalent to the triarii, and they're going to be moving up, holding down my right flank. Then I'm going to have 2 of these equites in the back, again larger units, 150 of these, pushing the right side, just to try and ward off the Carthaginian cavalry that, again, you can see is vast in numbers and that is flanking around me quickly. Another one of my cav is sent left. Let's go ahead and go put this on pause. Actually, the battle is progressing rather quickly, slow motion actually. So here comes my equites. They're pushing over to the left. Actually, no, I want to put this on pause because the battle in the front is going underway. And over here is going to be Publius Cornelius Scipio. So you are able to bring some generals. At the moment, you can only really bring Publius Cornelius Scipio because this mod does take place, sort of, it starts off right around the time of the Battle of Zama. So around 213 BC, I believe is that date. But anyways, yeah, he's going to be facing off in that position. And what I decided to do, knowing my opponent was Carthage and he would bring elephants, is I have my lines in long, deep formations, kind of like what Scipio did at Zama. Not entirely sure it'll work. The idea was to channel elephants down the middle. Of course, that doesn't work when you can exactly tell elephants where to charge. But I enjoyed the historical reenactment. Anyway, over here you can see the 3 lanes, but it is going to be sort of a modified triplex Achaeus with Velites in the front ranks. Then you have Hastati, Principes, and Triarii in the back. Let's watch a little bit of this. This is always so glorious. After playing Attila for a bit, I'm always happy to see, the traditional legions. So that's going to be me facing off against my opponent, starting to move into position. What my opponent does, Total War Zone, is he has a long line of Balearic slingers, and that's going to be holding down his front. In sort of guarding those guys are going to be the citizen militia units. Again, a lot of custom units for both sides, looking very, very nice. So those are the citizen militia drawn up from Carthage herself. So we can imagine at this point perhaps we're in Africa. Scipio has landed and the Carthaginians have to raise levies amongst their men. So citizen militia intermixed with the Balearic slingers, all unleashing on my guys. Knowing that there would be a lot of firepower coming at me, I wanted to make sure I rush up in the center. Velites are going to be confronting his Iberian Caetradi. I'm not actually sure what these are, but I'm glad they're almost like Scutari units down here. He has 2 of those, and Ligurian light infantry in the back. So my opponent has nice, skirmisher and infantry melee wings. Nice line in the center, backed up by 2 African veterans, kind of like Hannibal's own forces. Hannibal Barca back there, and then the elephants chilling in the background. Again, these units are extremely large. And then Numidian Cav, Iberian Scutari Cav, and 2 more Iberian Caetradi cavalry moving around the flank. So I'm going to try and push through the center. Let's go ahead and watch a little bit of this. So my opponent is trying to charge forward. What I decided to do was send my Velites out. The way this mod works is it has a 1 hit point system, which means that missiles do a lot more consistent damage. So even on the first volleys, you can start taking out, directly the lives of your opponent as opposed to health, which is good. So anyways, I was able to bait some of his forces out of position, and then I moved in with my very sort of not cheap, but my lowest tier Roman infantry. So we're going to be kind of crashing straight into the enemy forces, right up through the center. So there we go. I figured I did enough preliminary damage to warrant an engagement right there. So we're going to be committing over on that left flank, and also down through the center. My allies are going to be committing as well to this main assault. Straight down the front, multiple Roman units actually. With the maniple system, I'm able to maneuver around my enemy's spear lines. Again, with the larger units, it's kind of hard to do that, but I have enough excess manpower being Rome that I can do that. Now we're going to start our flank. Meanwhile, the Triarii are going to, cohorts extraordinari in this case, are going to be forming up to guard against the cavalry on that wing, and then we're going to be halted actually by the African veterans. My depleted levies are going to actually charge straight through at the Balearics, charge through the line. Meanwhile, his main force of another militia unit was pushed through the center. I'm going to engage that with more of my Hastati, engaging all along here. I'm trying to draw my opponent into my forces, suck him in, and then try and surround him with my forces. Over on this left flank, let's put this on slow motion. Actually, let's go ahead and watch this on, oh god, that does not help whatsoever. Sorry about that. Let's put this on pause just so we can analyze again what's happening. So on the flanks, I'm kind of just trying to guard my forces with huge spearman blocks plus cavalry in the back, trying to ward off and delay an assault from Numidians and Scutari cavalry who might, warp into my flanks. So I'm doing that on both sides. Triarii are doing well. And then in the center, I've engaged along his militia, citizen militia line. It's going to take me a while to chew through those guys, which is going to start to open up gaps that I'm going to exploit. Again, with Principes and cavalry, you can see these guys are all going to be going into the gap to then exploit hammer and anvil my opponent. That is the idea that I have. I want to pin his center and start to exploit and get in through all the ranks. You can see in the center, he doesn't really have much to fall back on besides some of these skirmishers. If I can start getting hammer and anvils, I free this up, I can destroy the center, and then his cavalry wings will have to, retreat back to the center. Now, the one problem to this is going to be the elephants. So let's see how that, throws a little bit of a wrinkle into my plan. But the models in this game are beautiful. The graphics are beautiful. I love the sheer numbers and scale that the mod offers. Always love battles that play with the scale. You can see here the blobbing is not too bad. It's actually pretty solid right there. My opponent was actually able to break my velites. Didn't really think they would hold out for too long. However, here my Sociorum should be able to start chewing through those militia. And the Equite cavalry unit is going to try and pull out of the range of these guys. Like I said, we're going to try and start hammer and anviling the rear of these militia units. And these citizen militia should start to crack. Meanwhile, in this gap in the formation, Triarii, Velites, all these units are going to start, or Principes are going to start forming in. My cohorts extraordinari over there are trying to guard my flank. My opponent is going around with his Numidian cav. Perfect use for these guys, as we saw in that other video where I did some testing. This is a very effective tactic. It'll do huge morale blows to your opponent. So he's being very good there, trying to deal death to my guys. Over in the center, my cavalry is running amok. Meanwhile, my own cav on the flanks is holding his at bay. And so I'm trying to do hammer and anvils bouncing between his men. He's starting to be stretched thin. His citizen militias are out to break. Over here, his African veterans are tied down. But here comes the big game changer of the battle. Elephants charging through the center. Cavalry moving on the flanks. This is not looking good. Always, elephants were something you had to be worried about on the ancient battlefield. Especially as they got engaged into massive lines of men. We're going to be seeing just that. The Romans, or the Carthaginians and other forces, usually would have put the elephants out front of your battlefield, set them in to disrupt the enemy forces, and then follow up with your infantry. In this case, my opponent has done the opposite. He set in infantry to disrupt and then sends in elephants to clean up and do shock and awe on key points of the battlefield. Something that's a very good move on this battlefield, but I'm not quite sure it would have worked in real life. Anyways, as we saw, elephants are particularly hard to kill in this game, so I'm going to start to target them with my Velites held in reserve. Going to pull back my Triarii and try and destroy that. Meanwhile, over here, Publius Cornelius Scipio has been pushed over on this side. I want to put this on pause just so I can get you some nice cinematics of my Romans charging forward. So we've broken the enemy left here. I'm going to start charging through with my Hastati, my cavalry. Like I said, I have no problem cleaning up his lines. So here you can see my guys starting to swarm. The left obviously has broken. This is going to allow me to start wrapping around, destroy these citizen militia. Over on the right side, I'm still holding strong. Cohorts Extraordinari defending the rear of my own basically Latin allies back there. I am starting to break where the elephants are at, and I did catch some of his Scutari cavalry flat-footed. Those guys were thinking to engage my guys, and here I'm pouring in more cavalry through the center to try and land some hammer and anvils. Let's watch some of this. Getting a nice rear assault. I really want to break the center so I can pour on through, but the elephants now, the longer he delays me, the more time he has to trample me. And these elephants are starting to take some damage. See, Scipio is actually going to try and rally the men and engage them. I did equip him with the ability to have sort of a defensive bonuses, so he's running in here, popping that defensive bonus, which gives me more damage done towards large units like cavalry and elephants. So I'm doing everything I can to try and take out these elephants, but they're quickly racking up kills right here. They're at 223, and they're just rampaging through my lines, especially, I mean, let's look at this right here. This is exceedingly dangerous. My troops are starting to reform back here. However, the enemy cav is massing in the rear, destroying some of my own equites, and they're just preparing for the final blow. I mean, look how many cavalry forces this is. Let's actually watch what this looks like as a cavalry commander. So now they're going to reform and try and go back to the battlefield. They're trying to pick and choose their targets. Meanwhile, I'm cleaning up the rear lines of the enemy opponent. Publius Cornelius Scipio has engaged Hannibal Barca in a straight-up fight. Hannibal and his cavalry will be much tougher than mine. You can see them here. Look at the equipment, how regal Hannibal's bodyguards look in this case. They just unseated one of my horsemen. So I'm going to pour in some support with my Velites, throw everything to take out the enemy general. I hope that's to my advantage, but holy crap. Let's make sure we don't miss this nice enemy assault. I've been unable to push through the center. The enemy militia forces that you can see here are very numerous, 300 as opposed to my guys that started at 240. So it's a long chopping fight for me to cut through those enemy forces. The elephants thrown in here did not help my cause. So, you know, here and there I can break through the militia. I'm trying to see, yep, no militia left here. I destroy them. And now it's basically just the elephants helping to secure down the rest, buying time for what is going to be a massive, actually, kind of want to watch this from this perspective so we can see all down the line with the elephants. But yeah, what's going to be a massive cavalry strike. And now let's go ahead and press play. And that is another cool thing about the sheer numbers in these units. I mean, look, cavalry are still streaming in. You get these massive assaults that are epic in scale. So you go a huge cavalry strike into the back of my cohorts, extraordinary. They're going to be sandwiched between militia units and those cavalry. They are high in number and high in skill. These are kind of the pick of the allied infantry with spears, and they can hold out pretty long against cavalry. Again, in this mod, spearmen do have huge bonuses towards cavalry. Cavalry who try and engage with spearmen or discipline units will actually be dealt damage on the charge, so it'll be kind of bounced back from, you know, back onto those guys. So he can try and land strikes with his cavalry, but as long as I have enough units to hold the integrity, I should be able to deal with those cav. They're not quite as scary as cav would be in vanilla Attila. In the background, I'm sending some of my cohorts here to try and rescue my men, take out the African veterans. I'm going to charge them in here, get a nice volley into the back of the African veterans, and then try and clean that up. Meanwhile, the cavalry is there to mop me up. Over in the center, Hannibal Barca has been pulled off a little bit. I threw in some equites to try and tie him down, and my general Scipio is going to pursue. The elephants are going to be drawn off in this position to try and help out, and then he decides that he's going to go for this big, huge cluster. Currently, they're at 640 kills. Let's watch as they charge through the Roman center. Again, the only reason my forces are still lingering around here is because I'm trying to pick off the remaining citizen militia. So for those Carthaginians, the elephants must be a godsend coming in here. And there are a lot of these elephants left. I have basically no remaining projectiles left, just a couple on my units that had previously routed, so I'm going to be pulling them back into position, try and get a flank on these elephants and try and do damage. They've already, since the last time we checked, racked up more than like almost closing in on 200 extra kills, so that is not good. So I'm going to line up, try and do damage, but they're continuing to stampede through my men. 763 total kills, and now the cav is going to be circling around. It looks like over here in the center I do have a lot of spears. Cohors Extraordinari, they should be pretty well equipped to deal with this cav. Let's actually watch him charge into the backs of my men. So if you charge into the rear of spearmen like this, you don't do quite as much damage, but at the same time you aren't able to bowl units over. I have a lot of men to hold this back, and I get a flank, so his cavalry is not something I worried too much about, although it was able to break some of my cohorts guys pinned back there. In the distance, Hannibal is still alive, however his numbers are dwindling. That should go in my favor. The elephants are going to disengage now with 800 kills and go straight after my men with their remaining projectiles. And let's watch some of this action happen. Holy crap, this is so epic. So I'm continuing to try and throw my Pilla, engage with these guys, but not much you can do with the elephants. As we saw with the testing, elephants are very, very powerful. And as for the current build of the game, Romans don't actually have access to any skirmishers besides just velites, so I didn't have any Syrian archers or any other type of ranged unit to take out these elephants. So you can see here and there elephants are going down with my projectiles. I just don't have access to enough projectiles to make it count and make it matter. So these guys are definitely carrying the center of the battlefield, and you can just imagine how horrendous some of these battles would have been in real life. I mean, you start to get a sense of the scale. I mean, let's look over here, over the corpse of a dead elephant, through ranks and ranks of dead Romans onto yet more elephants engaging with men. You start to get a sense of, the panic on these battlefields. I mean, imagine you're a guy right here, and you see your whole unit over there. You just got finished, maybe that elephant died right next to you, and now you're here sitting panting, and you're like, holy crap, what do I do? Do I actually run into that battle and engage, or do I kind of just sit here and catch my breath? Clearly that guy, a couple of these men, Romans, are going to decide to, they're calling it now. That's going to be their out. I still have Triari holding strong. The elephants moved out of that position after topping out at 1,052 kills. Seems like he's targeting my very healthy units. Broke the enemy general with my Hastati and Scipio, and now I'm going to try and reform my men, bring them back to the center. Over here I'm having still trouble breaking these citizen militia units, just because spear against spear doesn't really get you too far. So I'm going to try and reform my men, bring them back together. And the African veterans still a thorn in my side. These are going to be basically the core of Hannibal's forces, the African veterans and elephants, exactly what Hannibal would have liked to use against the Romans, and the cavalry is still alive. So that's kind of the definition of what a Carthaginian force was that was so powerful. Anyway, here comes Scipio. He's still not dead. He's still running around trying to rally his men, rest them up for a fight. And all he sees is his last elephant bastion. Not any real way for me to kill these guys. Again, I use one of my abilities. You can see the green arrows on my guys. It's going to give me +3 attack against elephant, plus 60% NAD mass. It's going to help me, hopefully, from being bowled over. And you can see here and there, an elephant is going to go down, but not nearly enough. He's gone up another 200 kills since we last checked in on these elephants. So I'm starting to get awfully worried at this point, especially with these Numidian cavalry here unleashing on the rear of my very, very expensive and very good cohorts extraordinari. And against militia units, I'm just trying to break these guys. So I do chase them off with Hastati, but he got the kills he needed. And now the elephants are going to be unleashed once more, continuing to roam around. One of the things I did really like with this battle is the pacing is interesting. You can see these units have been engaged for a long time, and so you can have lots of parts of the battlefield that kind of get bogged down, just like over here I was bogged down, and it just gives you time to exploit other flanks, make sure you reinforce key and crucial positions. I think it's just the right pace. It's not quite as slow as DEI and not as fast as vanilla Rome 2 or Attila. I really like the pacing of this, especially with the size and scale of the units. It gets to be pretty epic. Here comes his Scutari Cav. I need to start bringing in these Hastati back into the fold with my spearmen. He's going to rein them in. Hopefully that's enough to ward them off. Yeah, it looks like they're going to actually be going for my non-spear units. That's a good pick. Nope, actually he goes into the spears. Charging straight to my men. And again, notice how they didn't quite penetrate my lines with my heavy spears. I can force these Cav back. So I'm not too worried about the Cav. Like I said, this whole battle, they're not that hard to kill, especially you have heavy infantry and spears. Cavalry still have their place in this game for hammer and anvils, but they can't anymore run over units purely, as they would in Attila. So I'm fine in most measures, except for when it comes with these elephants. Let's see, 1,300 kills right now, and they still have basically 40 men remaining. I've only been able to kill about a third of these guys. I have a couple remaining Triari, African veterans still alive. And as long as they're escorted by those elephants, it's going to be very hard for me to survive. And here's kind of the last cluster of my, remaining units. They still have a lot of numbers. We'll see how long that lasts. Once you have a unit singled out by this massive size elephant block, you're going to have a bad time. That's for sure. But yeah, this mod could definitely use some work for balancing, to say the least. Probably the elephants, but it is, holy shit, it is so fun. I hope to see this mod develop even further. Again, check out all those videos for more development on the campaign side of things. I could really see these types of battles being super enjoyable, even against an AI player. I could see this being really, really fun. Like I said, the pacing and all that is fun, and I really think the mechanics of Attila, especially on the campaign map, will lend themselves to a Roman setting. For example, the way they'll be able to now do the family tree will be awesome for a Rome 2 setting. The way hopefully they'll be able to do escalation and sieges, they may have to import in some of the proper Carthaginian and Roman city models to make them more time appropriate. But yeah, there's a lot they can do with this mod. So even from a custom battle standpoint, you can see just how fun and awesome this is once they introduce more factions. I am super excited to keep tabs on this, so definitely stay tuned for more of that. At this point, the elephant still 40 men, and now they're closing in on 1,500 kills. Truly an impressive sight to behold for the elephants, and they're not stopping anytime soon. I also didn't, I should note, have the ability to bring any artillery. You'd figure if I had some Scorpion units, these would be prime targets. And actually, I wonder how they're going to handle artillery, if artillery are going to be scaled up as well, just like these troop formations are. I'd imagine they would be. They did mention in one of their notes on the forums that artillery are going to be less accurate than they were previously. I think that's really good. So hopefully that way you'll be able to have just a lot of artillery, but not too reliable in numbers, which I think is just an awesome cinematic way to go about it. Speaking of cinematics, I just want to get some nice shots of these elephants. I'm still waiting to see that really rare kill animation where the elephant picks up a guy with his trunk and throws him. I still have not seen that live. Holy shit. Yeah, so this is scary. So there goes the remainder of my men. Like I said, I kind of broke the enemy left, broke the enemy right, and then the center got bogged down on the elephants, and at that point I didn't have any remaining skirmishers to finish off my opponent. But again, Total War Zone, good game. Definitely helped a little bit by those elephants, that's for sure. But yeah, well fought, fun battle. And yeah, you can see my guys getting overall pretty good amount of kills. Scipio, my general, holy crap, 923 kills. Hannibal, paling in comparison. And my opponent getting a good amount of kills, even with his citizen militia right there. African veterans definitely doing a lot. 405, 248 on those guys. So good kills all around. Skirmishers, 146. These guys pretty good, but definitely the bulk of the kills came with his elephants. I mean, 1,500 kills. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I think if you hadn't had those elephants, or if they'd been patched or nerfed, I may have won that battle, but overall it was a really, really fun one. So make sure to check out both my video doing the just bare battlefield mechanics. We go ahead and explore that, and also go ahead and check out Total War Zone for the full, look at the overarching view of what this mod hopes to achieve. I'll link those two below. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.